Algebra, Subtracting with Variables, Lesson 2. Your objective. Today, I will solve the equations by finding the value of the variable. You'll need a pencil and a piece of paper for this lesson to practice the problems on, and at the end of the lesson, you will be required to copy down 4 problems, solve them, and bring them in tomorrow for your homework. Let's look at the first problem. 9 minus 2 is equal to a. The a is the variable. Remember, any letter in a number problem is called the variable, and that means that it can vary depending on what the rest of the problem is. So in this case, the variable is with different numbers, so it's going to be worth something different. This problem right here says 10 minus a equals 2. That means we started with 10 marbles, we took away a certain number, and that left us with 2 in the jar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take that certain number of marbles out. We have 2 left in the jar. Now to figure this out, you can think 10, if I take away some number, I'll be left with 2. There's another way that you can think of this. We can take a look. We can take the 2 marbles that are left in the jar, and we'll write that down. We're going to add back in those marbles that we took out. So if we add those marbles back in, I'm going to leave an empty spot for them, we should be left with 10, right? Because we started with 10, we took a certain number of them out, and it left us with 2. So if we work that whole process backwards and do the opposite of everything, we're going to start with 2. We're going to add back in, which is the opposite of taking them away. We're going to add back in those marbles, and voila, we're left with 10. So how many did we add back in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We added 8 marbles back to the jar. Okay, so we're going to check. 2 plus 8 equals 10. That's correct. So if we do that process backwards, we started with 10. Let's try our number. We're going to take 8 away, and we should be left with 2. You need to ask yourself, does that make sense? 10 minus 8, we're left with 2. Remember when we did subtraction, I had you check your answers. And to do that, you were able to take 2 plus the 8 is equal to 10. You work it all backwards and do the opposite. Okay? Let's look at the next one. This is b, take away 4, is equal to 6. Now if we look at it written vertically, b, which is an unknown number, it's our variable, we're going to take 4 out of the jar, and we should still have 6 left in the jar. So let's put 6 in the jar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's 6 in the jar right now. This just told us that we took away 4 from the jar. So if I make, there we go, we got 4 out of the jar. This is the 4 that we took away. If we put those back into the jar, remember if we do the opposite and put them back into the jar, we should be able to see how many we have. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. And I made these guys infinite cloners, so they're going to stay there. Okay, we put 4 back in the jar. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this tells us that we started with 10. So if we write 10 up here, let's check it and make sure it makes sense to us. If we start with 10, we take 4 away, we're left with 6. Okay? That makes sense. Let's test it again. There's 10. Let's take the 4 away. We'll put them down here since the ones to the left are infinite cloners. And we should be left with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are left with 6. Now the way that we can double check this is to do the process backwards. b minus 4 equals 6. And we said that b was 10. So if we double check our subtraction, you take the bottom number, how many you had left, you do the opposite of subtraction, which is addition. You're going to add back in those 4 that you took away, and our answer is going to tell us how many we started with. 6 plus 4 is 10. This is how we check our answers. So if we go back to the prior slide, we started with some number. We're going to take 4 out of the jar, and we're left with 6. Now you're not going to have a jar with marbles in front of you, so it's really important that you learn the process. If you start with a variable and you have to take some away, it's really important that you work this problem backwards. So let's start with 6. We're going to add in the 4. Going to add it back in. The 6 is how many we had left over. We took 4 out, so we're going to put them back in the jar. And 6 plus 4 is 10. So we write our answer over here, and then remember we need to use our common sense. That's our brain's telling us, does that make sense? 10. We're going to take 4 away, and we are left with 6. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Some number minus 6 is going to leave us with 11. This could be a b, it could be an h, it could be any variable. Because we start with the unknown, we start with a variable, we don't know how much this is yet. We're going to take 6 away, so if we're thinking of a jar, take 6 out of the jar, and we're still left with 11. If we work this backwards and do the opposite process, first I'm going to write it vertically. Okay, and always to check our subtraction problems, you can work it backwards. You can take the 11 that are left in the jar, if we're going to continue to think of a jar, add back in those 6 that were taken out. We're going to see how many we started with. What's 1 plus 6? 7. 1 plus nothing is 1. So, remember this checking procedure? We started with 17. Okay, now let's ask ourselves, let's double check this. Does it sound right? Does it make sense? 7 take away 6 is 1. 1 take away nothing is 1. So B is going to be the same thing as 17. If I start with a larger number, this is what you need to ask yourself all the time. If I start with a larger number, start with 17, and I take 6 away, I'm left with 11. Today in class, I noticed that some kids put a smaller number first, and that doesn't work. You have to constantly ask yourself and double check, does this make sense? Okay, let's look at this one. F, take away 3. So we're going to pretend like we got a jar of marbles. We're going to take 3 out, and there's still 14 marbles left in the jar. You need to find out how many we started with. Remember, we read our numbers from left to right, our number sentences. Or, if we rewrite them, which is what I prefer that you do, vertically, up and down, F is some number we started with. We took 3 out of the jar, and I still have 14 left. So let's do the whole opposite procedure. If I have 14 marbles left in the jar, I'm going to add those 3. I'm going to put them back in the jar. Sorry, my writing's sloppy. We're going to find out how many we started with. What is 4 plus 3? 7. 1 plus nothing, 1. 17. So let's go over here and see if it makes sense into our number sentence. 17. If I take 3 out of the jar, I'll still be left with 14. That makes sense. This number we started with is larger than the 3 and the 14. So that allows me to take 3 away and still be left with 14 marbles in the jar. Take a look at this one. Y minus 8 equals 4. So some number of marbles I started with in the jar. If I take 8 marbles out, I still have 4 marbles left. Our job is to find how many marbles we started with in the jar. I want you to rewrite this vertically, up and down. So Y, take away 8, and we're still left with 4 marbles in the jar. Remember, you can work this backwards. Start with the marbles left in the jar. If we took 8 away, we're going to add them back in this time. And this is going to tell us how many we started with. 4 plus 8 is 12. Let's put our 12 up here and ask ourselves, does this make sense? If I start with 12 and I take 8 marbles out of the jar, will I be left with 4? Is 12 minus 8 equal 4? Yes, it is. The way we found that answer, once again, is we take how many marbles are left. We're going to do the opposite of taking away 8. We're going to add 8 back in. It's going to tell us how many we started with. Okay, it's going to give us the y. These are the problems that you're going to need to copy on a piece of paper, and you will need to bring them in tomorrow. This is going to be your homework. So if you don't bring them in tomorrow, you're going to have to do these at study hall. Okay, today I solved the equations by finding the value of the variable, that missing number.